Hey, Team Went here, bringing you another wonderful neighborhood. Today we're in River North, one of my very favorites in Chicago. There's just so much going on here, isn't there?
Absolutely, there is. There's great nightlife, restaurants, bars, etc. Good shopping. We're standing right next to the river. There's a boat going by, probably the architectural boat tour. We're on the west side of River North, which is west and south side of River North. West to the river, east to Michigan Avenue, south to the river, and north to Chicago Avenue. Music scene, there's theaters. It's just really kind of the heart and soul of Chicago.
So we're going to go on a little walking tour and check in with you in a few minutes.
Absolutely.
We're right by the river, one of the greatest places to be in Chicago, along the newly renovated Riverwalk that is so popular amongst people who live here.
Yeah, and tourists too. You can walk all along the river, all the way to Navy Pier, and it's really kind of one of the most heartening stories. 30, 40 years ago, there was nothing along the river. You didn't want to be in the river or near the river or anything. Because of industry and pollution, and the city has worked very hard to clean it up and make it an integral part of the city. You can kayak, obviously you can take your own boats, but they have mandated that any new development along the river include a portion that pedestrians can walk on. We're standing kind of in River North, as we've talked about, where there's a lot of restaurants and bars along the river. But it's a great place to be during the summertime, and even now on a gray, hazy fall day. It's beautiful.
It really is, and you got to give it to Chicago, or at least we think so. When you think of Chicago, it used to be just Lake Michigan, but now they have this other great water body to talk about, and is really more or less a landmark now for Chicago. It's really, like Andy says, a great success story.
Absolutely, we love it.
Love it.
Thanks.
We're standing in front of, I would say, the landmark of River North, the Merchandise Mart.
Yeah, it's a beautiful example of Art Deco. It was built in 1930, and at the time it was the largest building by total square feet in the world. Built by Marshall Field and Company. It's been was owned by the Kennedy family for about half a century. It's home to lots of shops and wholesale spaces for furniture. That's the word I'm looking for. But a featured place on the architectural boat tour.
It is
just really something to behold. It has its own zip code, doesn't it?
It does have its own zip code.
Yeah.
Now, I can remember coming down here when I was little on the train with my grandmother, and it was a big thing going to the Merchandise Mart.
Absolutely.
Still is.
Still is.
Yep. We had talked about that there's so many restaurants in this area. I myself am vegan and never have a hard time finding a place to eat, but I think we're standing in front of one of the more famous steakhouses in Chicago, aren't we?
Yeah, it's certainly a recognizable name. It's Harry Caray's Italian Steakhouse, and very popular restaurant in River North. It's been here a long time. One of many steakhouses, though. There's Mastro's and Bavette's and any number of famous steakhouses that you can basically run into if you step out your door and walk a block or two.
Exactly. So now for people not from Chicago, who is Harry Caray?
Well, Harry Caray was a famous announcer. He actually announced for both the Cubs and the Sox, but was more familiar as a Cubs announcer. In the 80s and 90s, he was a Bud man and a Cubs fan.
Okay, there you have it. Another big attraction in the this area is the music venues, and we're standing in front of one of the most famous, the House of Blues. I used to love to go here. I especially remember jazz brunches.
Yeah, those are a lot of fun. Sunday jazz brunches. Obviously, they have rock concerts here, blues concerts here. It's a well-known venue. Just one of many, though, in River North, and a great place to see music, go out to dinner, enjoy your time.
Now we're all the way on the northeast side, standing in front of Holy Name Cathedral, which is one of the most famous churches in Chicago and one of the most famous buildings that I think was rebuilt after the Chicago fire.
Yeah, to tell you the truth, I don't know much about it, so that's all we have to say about the cathedral itself. But what I will say is, they used to own a lot of parking lots actually in the area, and they sold them off here and there, and there's high rises going up all over the place around the cathedral, and bringing in a lot of new residents and a lot of new businesses. In fact, speaking of business, got my real estate start across the street from Holy Name Cathedral. That was where my first office was with the Rizzo Realty Group, and so I spent a good part of 2 or 3 years down in this area and got to know it very well.
Nice area to be.
Yeah.